Apple just rebranded everything. The iOS 19 we knew and were going to expect, it's gone. And it's now going to be called iOS 26. And it's coming with a lot of changes, which I'm going to be discussing today. Think having Vision Pro on your iPhone. That's exactly what iOS 26 is going to reveal to all of us. Exactly the new changes that are going to come and all of the new icons, designs, and everything else that we've been promised for a while now. WWDC 25 is going to change everything we know about Apple so far, and it's going to give us so many new updates for the next coming years. It's going to give us things we never expected Apple to do and major overhauls that are long awaited. So without further ado, here's everything you need to know. For those of you that don't know, WWDC is the Worldwide Developer Conference. It's a conference that Apple does annually where they speak about everything that's coming up in the upcoming years. Now, usually in these events, they're not going to speak about really big things like what phones or Macs are going to come out, but they'll usually discuss software changes. So think of the really big September event that Apple does where they announce a ton of new devices, but for software. And this year, obviously, we've been teased with iOS 19, which now is going to be called iOS 26. Not only that, but with that change, Apple also announced that they're going to be changing all the other software's names to yearly names as well, which means that macOS is now going to be called macOS 26, iPadOS as well, and vice versa with every other software that Apple has out there. After the name changes, one of the other first things we saw about this new software is going to be the visual changes that are coming along with it. Pairing with the new iPhone 17 Air models and all the visual changes that are coming with the iPhone 17s, it seems like we're also going to get a visual change for the iOS system. And it's going to be a really big one. Like I said in the intro, think Vision Pro for your phone. That's what Apple are really going to do with this update. They're just going to kind of push all of Vision Pro's apps, designs, and details into the iOS system, and they just want it to resemble a more futuristic and modern look. So that's one of the first things we can expect, which in my opinion is really cool. I mean, it's been so many years since we actually got a really big overhaul of the design. And Vision Pro's design is really cool. If any of you haven't seen it, I'm gonna put pictures on the screen, obviously. I'm super excited to have all of this in iOS since it really is gonna give the phone a more futuristic and modern look, which is pretty much what Apple stands for and has stood for the past 10 or 15 years. We're expected to see frosted glass effects, rounded icons, and floating navigation bars, which are things that are all in Vision Pro system and that we already know how they're going to look due to them being in Vision Pro, but it's something that we hadn't seen yet in the iPhone. Now, in terms of Apple Intelligence, well, if you've seen any of my previous videos, you'll know that this area is kind of a gray area for Apple right now. They're currently going through a pretty heavy lawsuit, which basically states that Apple didn't deliver on their new Apple Intelligence like they said they would. And people like myself are catching on and are realizing that the new Apple Intelligence that was supposed to come out with the iPhone 16 isn't actually here, and it's actually been delayed even further on down the line to maybe even 2026 or 2027. So in terms of Apple Intelligence, the only thing we really do know is that there's going to be a new AI-powered battery management system, which is really cool because at the end of the day, it's going to help you manage your battery pretty much like it says it's going to do. And I think especially for older iPhones, it's going to be better since the newer ones do have a better battery. It's going to help the older iPhones a lot to keep them fresh and feeling like brand new. And we are expecting updates on iPhone 16 Apple Intelligence and the overall Siri overhaul. Since they first announced it and then got hit with the lawsuit, we haven't really seen much from them. So we are expecting to see some updates on what they end up doing with Apple Intelligence and what actually happens to the rollouts that they said were going to come in last year. So on that topic, there isn't much to say, and I guess we just have to wait and find out. Now, this next feature, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't one of the ones that most excites me about this entire conference, and it's desktop mode for new USB-C iPhones, which is pretty much gonna be like turning your phone into a desktop. You're gonna be able to plug it into any external monitor, and your phone itself is gonna become like a secondary UI and secondary display. It isn't only gonna mirror what's on your screen, which I'm pretty sure will be an option, but it's gonna actually act like a second screen where you'll be able to multitask, you'll be able to do a ton of different things open different apps, and it'll act like a desktop would. Now, that to me is one of the coolest things that Apple has done in the past few years, and I'm really excited to see how they actually end up executing it. Now, there is a small possibility that this could only be for the Pro or really high-end models, but obviously, since the phone is going to be doing things like multitasking, it needs to have a lot of RAM and power. It's something you're not going to be able to do with an iPhone 13 or under, and I'm not completely sure about the 14 lineup, but I know that it's definitely going to be something limited to the USB-C only models, and from then, I'm not sure, like I said, if it's only going to be the Pro models or if the base models are going to be included. Either way, just the fact that you can turn your iPhone into a desktop just by connecting it to an external monitor is something that's really, really cool, and it has a lot of people excited about it. Now, in terms of the AirPods, the only real big change we've seen is the fact that in this update, it's expected for the AirPods to finally get live translation. Now, this as well, like the desktop mode, is a game changer. Now, with Siri right now not being so advanced, I'm not really sure how it's going to work or if they're going to have to implement new Siri features with this update. But if Siri can handle the live translation, it's going to be amazing and really, really revolutionary. The fact that you can put in some AirPods and then speak to somebody that doesn't even know your same language or knows nothing about you. That's a feature that's going to transcend so many different barriers, and that I'm sure is going to be something staple for the next 10 to 15 years. I can really see this feature in a future being something so common for tourists, people traveling to different countries, or just speaking with somebody you don't know the same language of. I really do have to pat Apple on the back here, because for the past few years, they've really given us nothing, and this year it finally seems like we're gonna get a lot of new features, not only software-wise with iOS 26, but also with the iPhone 17 Airs and all of the new designs that are coming out. And the last big slash small feature that we're gonna look at is going to be that there's now going to be a charge estimation on the screen. Now, this is something that's so simple, yet I don't know why Apple has never done it. I really don't think it's something hard to do, but at least now it's going to be here. Apart from that, we're all sure that there's going to be some smaller features that do get announced. As Apple always do, they show a ton of new features. Even if they're small ones, they might talk about emojis, they might speak about Genmojis as well. But in terms of the big features that we can expect, those are pretty much going to be the ones. I'm personally very, very excited to watch it. For those of you that don't know, it's on June 9th, and you can watch it pretty much anywhere. I mean, it's going to be here on YouTube. It's also going to be on Apple TV if you prefer to watch it through there. And it's just a free conference where they show everything they're coming up with and everything that'll come out later on in the year. I believe that Apple, like I said, really hasn't given us much updates and many things for the past few years. So this year, it's really, really cool that they've kind of listened to us in many ways and are actually giving us what we want. It's long gone and definitely very late, but better late than never. If you are interested in seeing all of the new iPhone 17 leaks, though, I do have videos of that on my channel, which I'll link up above. There should be a card on screen right now. Go ahead and watch that video so that you could actually see what's going to come in September, and not only in WWDC 25. Apart from that, well, I'm obviously going to make a video when I actually watch it and talk about everything that they end up announcing. So stay tuned if that's something you want to see. I can pretty much guarantee that everything I've said here will get announced. If it doesn't, I will make a video on that as well, and I'll tell you guys everything that you need to know. But I guess until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.